For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Fantastic Four First Steps, the brand new entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As you guys know, for those of you that have been on the channel for a good amount of time, I'm a massive MCU fan through and through the tough times, through the good times, and yeah, man, I just love this franchise to death. I love all the Marvel movies. I'm a big comic book movie guy, but listen, to be quite honest with you here, okay? Not really a big Fantastic Four guy. I think that those 2005 films, the first one I really like, the second one I don't really think is that good. The 2015 one's awful, so I've never really been like attached to these characters. I think that Reed Richards is a really interesting character, but I'm not going to act like I really understand these characters super deeply or I've ever like read the comics or anything. Not a Fantastic Four guy, but was I excited for this movie? Honestly, because of that, not really. Just because these characters have like never really been done justice. I just haven't really been like that excited for it, honestly. But in a way, I've kind of liked that because it's kind of dampened my expectations to where my expectations were just clear. I wasn't expecting a 10 out of 10 movie. I was kind of just clear, level-headed, going into this film, and whatever you've got, just give it to me. And I'm excited to see the film, you know what I mean? Whatever you got for me, whatever Matt Shakman was cooking up, I'm excited to see. But did this movie deliver? Did it kick us off into this doomsday era, phase 6 starting off? Listen, guys, I think this is a good movie. I think Fantastic Four First Steps is a good movie. Honestly, I'll admit it, I was kind of being negative going into this and kind of hating on it because of the fact that I didn't really like the cast, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but this movie won me over, and I really enjoyed it. But with that being said, it's definitely flawed, and it definitely does have some issues. But, again, I am positive on the film, just to kind of lay the foundation here before we get into the positives and the negatives. I lean positive for sure. Heavily positive. I think it's a really good film. Starting off with the positives here, I think that one of my favorite things about this movie is that, sure, it's an MCU movie, they all do feel a little bit similar, but this film has its own distinct style. It's going for this retro, futuristic type of vibe. One of my favorite areas in Disney World, I know this is like super off track, is Tomorrowland, and this entire movie just gave me like that Tomorrowland vibe. The silver, the blue, obviously the Fantastic Four is blue, but still, it just kind of gave me that vibe. You got Herbie, the little robot with them. It felt like kind of like a vintage 70s feel when it came to like what the cast was wearing, but then also, of course, there's all this insane tech that they've got, so it's also going forward. It's like this weird mix of the past and the future, and I just really fell in love with that aesthetic. From there, these characters, man, you've got Johnny, you've got Sue, you've got the Thing, you've got Reed Richards, the man himself. I think all these characters definitely won me over, and I'm definitely excited to see where they go from here. I think on their own, they're all pretty decent characters, and we'll get into the problems that I have with maybe some of them, or just the family as a whole in a little bit, but I think it works for sure. And then you've also got Franklin, who's like a baby. That's not a spoiler, obviously, because it's in the trailers, but doesn't really do much because it's a baby, but still, I think that, you know, the baby dynamic I liked. And also, I do like the whole motherhood and parenthood aspect of this film because they've got Franklin in here. They're trying to deal with a galactic threat, or a Galactus threat, I should say, while also trying to figure out how to be parents. And I like that dynamic. I feel like, obviously, it's been done before in films, but at the same time, in superhero films, I like when that's done. It kind of reminds me of, like, The Incredibles. Or maybe, like, also The Incredibles 2, where you've kind of got, you know, Mr. Incredible staying at home with the kids, and meanwhile, Miss Incredible, or not Miss Incredible, Elastigirl is kind of just dealing with the actual threat. But, yeah, I like the whole family dynamic. Also, Silver Surfer, really awesome character. You've got Julia Garner playing her. She's having a massive year. She's going to be in like 3 films between Wolfman, Weapons, and now this. She's having a massive year, and I'm a really big fan of her. It's like all 3 of her biggest movies, too, like in her entire career this year. So that's really awesome. Shout out to her from Ozark. And also, you've got Ralph Ineson playing Galactus. Super threatening. Doesn't have like the most dialogue in the world, but either way, Galactus is here, man. And boy, does he have a pretty big screen presence. He feels very powerful. It's not like, you know, people are just kicking his ass. No, Galactus is one of the biggest threats to ever enter the MCU. So I've got to definitely take my hat off and say, hey, you guys did a good job with that. From there, I kind of like the narrative because it's pretty straightforward, okay? It's nothing too insane, but at the same time, you do watch the team kind of think. You watch them tinker. They're like, okay, there's this threat, this massive threat, Galactus coming. How the hell are we going to stop him? Because at its core, Galactus is, again, like the most powerful being in the universe practically, or whatever you want to say, or at least extremely powerful, or one of the most powerful. So how the hell are they going to beat him? And you watch them kind of like trial and go through like this trial and error process, I should say, of trying to figure out how they're going to beat him, because how are they going to beat him? And there's even moments like you see in the trailer where they ask Reed, are we going to be safe? And he says, I don't know. And again, that's in the trailer. That's not like a spoiler or anything. So it's one of these things where you're kind of on the edge of your seat like, damn, how are they going to figure this out? How are they going to work together to really beat Galactus? And even Silver Surfer, I guess you could say, who obviously is the herald or whatever you want to say to Galactus. But yeah, man, just a fun movie overall. There's a couple of jokes and stuff that I really like. There's some shots that are just absolutely beautiful. Visually, like ignoring the style and just talking about like some of the shots, I thought that they looked really awesome, especially some of the stuff in space, man. Silver Surfer, the CGI is ridiculous on her. Galactus's design is really cool. There's some set pieces that I really enjoyed as well. I think that the intro of this movie does a good job of kind of establishing this new world, and also I think this film does a good job of making this New York in another world feel very immersive and lived in. Like, it feels like the characters are sort of actually a character in the movie. And when I say the characters, I mean just like the population of the city. Like, it's not like they're just these random background extras. No, they interact with our heroes. They're a part of the story a little bit because it kind of helps develop this world out, kind of in a way like Spider-Man 2 when the people on the train are helping him out, or even like in Superman that just came out when you've got all these people helping Superman out, and kind of they play into a role in the story. I really enjoyed that. I think it's time to dive into some negatives, kind of just to get the brain flowing, because honestly, I do have a good amount of negatives, and I did have a lot of fun with this movie. I do think that has a really interesting story. It keeps you guessing, which I really liked. I had no idea how they were going to beat Galactus. If they do, I don't want to spoil the movie, but I'm just saying, like, it really does keep you guessing, in my opinion at least. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I haven't watched like all the trailers, like especially recently, but yeah, I think it's not like very predictable or like heavily predictable, which I do enjoy, because sometimes I just hate, man, it's one of my pet peeves where I feel like I'm just a step ahead of the writers, and it's like, man, I could have seen this coming from a mile away. But yeah, keeps you guessing, kind of keeps you on your toes. But getting to my negatives here, I want to start with the characters. I think that Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, Sue Storm, and The Thing are all really good characters on their own in this movie. Are they great? No. I think they're all good characters, for sure. I was pretty interested by them. I liked watching them talk and stuff. But I don't know, as a cohesive unit, if they really feel like a family. Like, sure, this is a family, right? And the movie tells us that. They say, hey guys, this is a group that works together. But I don't know if I feel like when they were in the same room together, if it felt like they were really tethered to each other. I think a good example of this is that, like, in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and yes, there's been 3, so they've had 3 films, but even that first film, towards the end of the movie, when you're just watching that final battle, when they're all together, it feels like they are literally together. They are all in on this. But in this movie, it feels more like 4 individuals that are family, and they have nice relationships with each other, but it's not like this family, like the Avengers, or even like the Thunderbolts, I would say, honestly. It feels just kind of like, they all know each other, they're all pretty close, but they're not like this incredibly dynamic group, which is okay, because again, I thought they were pretty good as a group. I just don't think they hit like that upper echelon of like, wow, this is an all-time superhero team. Even by the end of the story, I was kind of just like, yeah, like, this is the Fantastic Four. Cool. Like, I'm positive on the team. But I just wasn't blown away by their chemistry. I wasn't like, oh my god, they're incredible together. But I did think that they were very good. From there, I think this movie, honestly, for some reason, just did not utilize the powers of our characters. I think Johnny Storm probably gets used the most, but we barely get to see Reed stretching The Thing. He punches some stuff. Cool. But also, even on the action side, just in general, I feel like there isn't really that much action in this movie. And again, not everything needs to be punches and fighting. I love good dialogue. I love rich storytelling. I love little complicated scenarios characters get put in. But I don't think it's necessarily the movie's fault, like the movie that we got, that we didn't have that much action. I think a problem with this movie, because it's an hour and 55 minutes long, and you guys can kind of see where I'm going with this. Maybe this is going to sound a little bit dramatic, but I really don't think it does. I think this movie needed like 25 more minutes. Maybe 20 minutes, okay? I won't overshoot here, okay? I think this movie, somewhere in here, needed 20 more minutes, because you kind of feel the runtime just bang, 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 bang. I feel like we don't really get time to kind of just sit back and let things settle. And I know that a common critique, and I don't want to compare and contrast, I do not want to compare and contrast fully, but a common critique for Superman was that it was a little bit too short. But that movie was 15 minutes longer than Fantastic Four. This film, again, obviously like I just said, is even 15 minutes shorter than Superman. So imagine you have similar scenarios where a city's trying to be saved, but now it's 15 minutes shorter, and your group is 4 people. So you're trying to develop more people. I feel like, honestly, we just didn't get that much background. Like, there's some little, I don't want to say subplots, but little things that they touch on that felt like they didn't really go anywhere, but it's kind of like they didn't really get super satisfying resolutions, whether it's like maybe some little love interest on the side, or maybe just like an ongoing joke or something, even just like silly stuff like that. I know people joke around about the MCU has too many jokes, but like I feel like maybe the payoffs for some of these jokes aren't that good because they're not developed as well. I wish that we got to actually just have these characters sit in a room for 5 to 10 minutes and just talk about something interesting. I think that would have really helped develop them well. From there, a problem that I have with this film, and I try not to be too harsh with this, even though it does bother me because it's so obvious, is that there's some bad CGI in this movie. I think a lot of it's awesome. Space looks gorgeous in this movie. Some of the most beautiful shots the MCU's ever had. I'm talking about like that level. What's it called? Silver Surfer, impressive CGI. I can't even believe that we're at this point in human history where we can make stuff like that. Galactus looks awesome mostly. But man, I feel like this movie slightly suffers from like the Twilight problem, where the baby Franklin, it's not necessarily that the baby looks bad, but when people are holding the baby, like the thing, when the thing is holding the baby, it looks really choppy, and it's like, ugh, this is definitely CGI animated. And even sometimes I think the baby is animated and it looks really off, and it's kind of just one of these things where you just can't help but notice it. Like, I'm trying to ignore it, but I just keep like glancing over and I'm like, oh, that looks really awkward. Like, I can't not look at it, you know what I mean? But even from there, there's just some action things where I'm like, it doesn't look, I don't want to say perfect. Things don't have to look perfect, but I'm like, that looks rough. Like, there's one scene, I'm not going to say anything, but where Sue steps out of a car, and I was literally just like, Jesus Christ, how did this make the final cut? I feel like now that it's 2025, we should be able to like make a person jumping out of a moving car look good, but it looks really bad, and I was just like, whoa. And again, it's not the end of the world. If the story's good and the characters are great, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the CGI. I thought that overall, though, the story does work, but even from there, I do feel like there are some times, and again, I am kind of like nitpicking here, but these are genuine issues I have with the movie, not like too serious. Again, I'm positive on this movie. Another problem that I had is that sometimes I feel like the Fantastic Four, right? They have a plan to do something, and they don't really fully explain what they're about to do. Like, not every character has to just exposition dump on the audience, but sometimes it's like the team decides to do something, and they don't fully explain why they're doing what they're doing, and like, I kind of follow along, but I'm not like fully with them. Like, for example, not a spoiler whatsoever, the team at one point goes to space, right? We see that in the trailers. It's not 100% clear why they're going to space. Like, I get the idea of why they are, but they don't explain, hey, we're going to space to do this because of this. It's kind of just like, we're going to space because we generally want to do this. And I'm just like, okay. And then like you see what they do as the movie goes on, but I'm kind of just like, I wish I just knew what they were doing beforehand, so I was like prepared. I feel like I'm a step behind them. Like, I wasn't in the room when they made their plan at all, and I was just like, okay, that's okay. But again, not a major problem. I'm just saying, I feel like sometimes the movie just goes on almost a little bit too far ahead of you, to where I'm like, whoa, I wish that was like not explained like I'm a child, but just kind of kept us in the loop of like what exactly they're trying to do at certain times. But there's like 2 instances of that. It's not really a big deal, but again, I lean positive on this movie. Did it kick us off into Doomsday? That's one thing that I want to mention. Sure. I'll say sure. Again, it's not a spoiler. I'm just saying I think that it does a decent enough job of kicking us off into Doomsday. But I don't think it really has me like, wow, Doomsday is going to be about this in a way that like Civil War did. And I'm not saying that every movie needs to be like a building block, but I do kind of wish... And I don't want to dog on the movie, right, for not setting up another movie. I think that's stupid, but this is kind of like our last movie before Doomsday, and we have no idea what Doomsday is going to be about. And it's one of these things where, yeah, we have Spider-Man 4 coming out, but I mean, apparently that's going to be street level. It just got confirmed, so I'm looking at Fantastic Four almost like the last movie before Doomsday. Maybe that's unfair, though, because maybe Spider-Man 4 will set some stuff up, but it's just a point of, like, I'm not like, wow, Doomsday, man, Doom is coming, or whatever. I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. I mean, I guess we'll just ride off into the sunset, and once we get the first trailer, we'll see what it's going to be about. But, again, not really, like, holding that against the movie, because I think that's, like, stupid. Just wanted to kind of talk about it and bring it up. But, listen, what am I going to rate Fantastic Four First Steps? I'm probably going to be rewatching it again tomorrow. Just to be transparent, I was debating between a 3.5 out of 5 and a 4 out of 5. I think that I would rather, for now, settle on a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a good movie. That's a positive rating for sure. But with a rewatch, I could see it going up to a 4. I don't think I could go down to a 3, but there's potential. But I'd rather just sit it on the lower score than bump it up, if anything, rather than bump it down from a 4 to a 3.5. I think, that's just like being negative. I don't want to do that. So 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this movie, just to be clear. It has this fun energy to it. The score is banging by Michael Giacchino. I feel like it flows so well. There's some emotional moments towards the end that I really enjoyed. Maybe it's not like as emotional as Thunderbolts that just came out, but I still think it really works. And yeah, overall, I had a good time, and I'm happy with this movie, especially because I was having my doubts, and I could be honest about that, but I came out of this like, you know what, this movie did at the end of the day win me over. But let me know what you guys thought about Fantastic Four First Steps, or if you're going to see it, let me know how excited you guys are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.